Boy, where to begin to tell a story? Last night I was talking to Janine from the Flawless Foundation. I'm on her board, and she says, "You got to show the video. You got to show the video." I said, "Well, that's kind of in the middle." I said, "Well, you got to show the video." So we're going to start with that video, and then I'll give you a little bit of background. This is my older brother, Tom. He was very sick. When I would visit him occasionally, he would talk about things that didn't make sense to me. He struggled. He lived at home at first, and then he went out on his own. But he had reoccurring episodes. Bottom line, I got a call. And my brother killed himself. I've always felt I could have done more, and I'll never do it again. I'll always do more. I'm Mike Thompson, and I will listen. Boy, what a bummer to start a story with, right? Jesus. So I started by saying that's kind of the middle of the story. It's something that I did as part of, for NAMI New York City. I am the past president of NAMI New York City, and we started the I Will Listen campaign. And the whole context of the I Will Listen campaign is to not focus on the 1 in 4 with mental illness, but focus on the 4 in 4 of us that really need to be more responsive and receptive to people with mental illness and all of that. We showed that video actually to the head of benefits at CBS, the head of benefits at CBS. And at the meeting, after she saw that video, she says, "You want that to be a PSA? A PSA? Public service announcement." I said, we said, sure. You want that to be regional, you want it to be national. So that is actually playing, a 30-second version of that is actually playing as a PSA on CBS, and it's been playing for the last 3 years. So, but let me bring it back to the beginning, and this is going to sound a little bit off target in terms of what the hell is he telling me about that for, but I promise I'm going to bring it back and connect the dots at the end. So, I was born in Worcester, Mass, not too far from here. I grew up in East Longmeadow. It's a suburb of Springfield, Mass. I was in a family of 5 kids. I was the fourth, the youngest boy, 1, 2, 3, 4. My oldest brother's 6 years older than me, and my sister is 7 years younger than me. So I'm the youngest boy, and then lo and behold, a daughter. My father actually started a business probably in his late 40s, early 50s. I don't remember exactly when. It was called Thompson Bakery Supplies. And Thompson Bakery Supplies started around when I was in high school. And in the summers, I would deliver on the trucks. I'd go on the trucks and I'd deliver bags of flour and sugar and shortening and to bakeries in the New England area. And then I learned to drive a truck at some point and drove a truck. And then later I went into, when I was in college, they actually let me sell. And of course, selling here was more like going to the bakeries and taking orders. So I during the summers, I would do that sailing. And I promise I'm going to connect this before it's over. So then as I had kind of grown up, I was pretty good in math. In fact, I was very good in math. And I became a math major in college. I got out of college. I went to Prudential Insurance Company. I was fortunate to get on the actuarial program. And around the time I'm taking my 4th actuarial exam, there's 10 actuarial exams. Around the time I take that 4th actuarial exam, that's when I got that call. It changes everything. Bottom line, it changed our family for years. I think my parents started to drink. My sister, who was younger than me, 7 years younger than me, became very estranged from our family, from my parents. She finally put her foot down, stopped the drinking, or I'm leaving, and they didn't stop the drinking, and she left. And she's still estranged today. That company ultimately, Thompson Bakery Supplies, ultimately went under probably in the late 80s. But I was still at Pru, so I was doing just fine, at least at one level. I left Pru in 1995, so fast forward. And I joined PricewaterhouseCoopers, and I went into consulting on healthcare and benefits. Actuary, should be able to do this stuff. I told you I'm going to connect this before it's done. As part of that, I actually went on the board of the Northeast Business Group on Health, and that's an employer coalition in New York City that focuses on healthcare and benefits, and so I became active on that. Wendy Brennan from NAMI New York City was hired by NAMI New York City to do business outreach within New York City, and she talked to Laurel Pickering, who at the time was the president. She said, "You should talk to Mike." Laurel had no idea that I had any experience in mental illness. I talked to Wendy for an hour about how to approach businesses and whatnot. She put me on her board. A few years later, they asked me to be the president of the board of NAMI New York City. So that's how I kind of got into all this. When we talked about our board, we talked about the fact that we're the largest chapter in the country for NAMI. We don't have to necessarily wait for NAMI National to give us things to lead. We can lead, and we decided we would lead. And so there was a couple big initiatives we did. We actually hired JWT to help create a campaign. They created that campaign. They took videos of 4 of us. That 1-minute video was cut down from a half-hour interview for me, and there was several others, and again, it became kind of the face of the campaign. In addition, we started a workplace mental health initiative, and it started with somebody from the UK, John Binns, who had been a partner at Deloitte in the UK, and he himself had and he was a fairly senior partner, he himself had issues with depression. And he had actually started a mental health champions program in Deloitte in the UK. So we brought him over, we got a bunch of companies in the room, we had a lot of discussions, we talked about how that couldn't work in the United States because of ADA and There's all these technical issues. I promise I'm going to connect all this. Bottom line, we've had 7 workplace mental health summits in New York City, including one a few weeks ago, with major companies participating in those conversations. As a result of the I Will Listen campaign and the mental health summits, and the introduction from people like Janine to Patrick Kennedy, I've had the opportunity to speak at the Kennedy Forum, both here in Boston a couple times and in Chicago a couple of times, on workplace mental health. And we've also developed kind of a platform for how companies should be dealing with mental health in the workplace. And it's really built on 4 pillars. The first pillar is to know the impact. And mental health has a dramatic impact on workplace health, wellness, healthcare costs, productivity, and presenteeism. You'll hear a lot of jargon type words like that. Secondly, the second big pillar is, I think what Jeff and Matt have talked about, which is break the silence. It turns out that whether you use a campaign like I Will Listen or Stamp Out Stigma or Peace, Love, whatever the campaign, it doesn't appear to matter. When we talk to people who have executed in business and they have some sort of campaign to break the silence, everything gets better. People engage, they start talking, and things just start happening. And so break the silence is the second pillar. The third is to ensure affordable access, and that's a major problem in our country, and employers can influence that, so we're working on that. And the fourth is to move towards well-being, towards a culture of well-being. And so those 4 principles became kind of our centerpiece. We've gone on and we've had a CEO summit down on Wall Street on mental health. First Lady of New York City has participated. It's continued as the New York City has implemented its Thrive program in New York City. Workplace is being integrated into that, and so things are just kind of building one on another. And there's still another CEO summit coming up in the next few weeks, looking at opioid abuse. That's a lot, right? Well, I am retiring. I'm retiring at the end of this month from PwC, but I am taking another job, and my new job is the President and CEO of the National Business Coalition on Health. And the National Business Coalition on Health is an umbrella organization for employer coalitions across the country. And you remember that the Northeast Business Group on Health that has companies on it like Citi and CBS and American Express and big companies. Well, it turns out that there's 50 of these coalitions across the country. There's a Midwest Business Group on Health, a Pacific Business Group on Health, a Florida Business Group on Health, a Mid-Atlantic Business Group on Health, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh. There's 50 of them across the country. They represent something like 7,000 employers and about 35 million Americans. So in this new role, I have a still nicer platform. And we are now looking to integrate with the Kennedy Forum to actually do their workplace initiative through that initiative. And we're also starting a well-being institute. So kind of gone all over the place, and I haven't connected anything yet. So let me kind of bring it back to the beginning. When I talked about when I started in that bakery supply many years ago, and there was a salesperson back when I was going to go out on the road selling, and the salesperson was a big, burly Italian guy, Joe Bordenero. And he was trying to, take me under his wing. He says, you're going to go out sell. He says, Mike, there's a secret. There's a secret to selling. There's a secret to making friends, actually. That's what he said. There's a secret to making friends. He said, it isn't to do favors for them. It's to let them do favors for you. It makes them feel good if they do favors for you. And I think what I took away from that is that, one, I learned how to make a lot of friends, and I've made a lot of friends over the years, but as importantly, by giving, it's really in your best interest. By you doing things, you're doing it for yourself, because you feel better. And I think in all of this stuff, my life has gotten so rich because of what I've been able to contribute and what I've been able to do. And I just am so thrilled that Jeff and Matt have given me an opportunity to give today. They made my day. So thank you very much.